Welcome to the March installment of QB Talks, the best of the best e-commerce apps. My name is Gary Dehart, and I am the publisher of Insightful Accountant and your intro guy for this webinar. Our presenters are William Bill Murphy and Teresa Slack, CPB, CEO of Financially, and they will share their bios and their credentials after I get through doing what I need to do here. Before I do turn it over, I do have an announcement and some housekeeping. So we do have a poll. Matt, if you can go ahead and throw up the poll question about Be Insightful. We do have this premium content offering, and basically it's under the Be Insightful heading, and we offer 9 training tracks from speakers like Murph, Kelly Parks, Christine Gervais, Kyle Turiff, and others with access to more than 36 CPE credit hours per year exclusively for members, and a variety of year-round premium content, including white papers and app comparisons. If you want to learn more, just say yes to the poll and we will send information to you. This is a CPE eligible webinar. You must be present for 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and you must answer at least 3 of the poll questions. If you meet this criteria, we will send you your certificate within about 24 hours. If you have any questions during the webinar, direct them or put them into the chat. And if they're, be specific in your question. Don't just say, what did you mean by that? Because they may not be able to answer the question when you ask it, maybe 10 minutes later. So just be specific and drop it in the chat. You will receive an email following this event with a link to the archive, which will be posted to our YouTube channel. Matt will also drop the link to the YouTube channel into the chat for you. And then the slide deck will be attached to the email that you receive as the follow-up to this event. Lastly, after the event, we would appreciate it if you would answer just a very short survey. It's like 3 questions that will pop up on your screen as soon as the webinar is over. And that just helps us provide feedback to the speakers. It just helps us continue to refine the content that we're offering. So Murph, thank you. Teresa, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your knowledge here on e-commerce apps, and thank you to the participants for being here as well.
Thanks,
Thanks
Gary.
a lot.
All right, can everybody hear me? I hope. I want to tell everybody thanks for being here today, and I hope you get the content you're looking for as we discuss our activities and specifically the best e-commerce solutions. And so with that said, I think everybody knows me. I've been around forever. As I like to tell people, I got to see dirt made, and I've been in the pro advisor business almost from the very beginning. Been working in accounting far longer than that, and currently I'm trying to keep writing every day and also administering the Pro Advisor Awards, and we'll talk about that a little later as well. And with me today is Teresa Slack, and Teresa is a top 100 Pro Advisor, Professional Leader of the Year, a top 50 CAS firm recipient, a top 50 Women in Accounting Worldwide recipient, a certified bookkeeper, an e-commerce accounting trainer, a value pricing trainer with Mark Wickersham, and co-founder of the e-commerce training academy for accounting professionals. And I'm extremely glad to have her here to discuss actually 3 of the best, and that's what we're really talking about today. And you'll find out how we came up with that in just a little bit. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about these 5 e-commerce apps: A2X, NextCommerce, PayTracker, Sender, and WebGility. And we hope that by the end of today, you will have the ability to name from a list we provide the e-commerce app that you currently use or recommend. that you'll be able to identify the most highly ranked e-commerce apps based on the app comparison that I did last fall, and that you'll be able to select one factor that distinguishes Sender from WebGility. So last October, I presented a webinar covering the results of a 3-month analysis of 15 e-commerce apps. The webinar pared down the list to the best 10 of those 15. Now, we had asked Dawn Brolin, Kelly Gonzalez, and Jeff Siegel to research one or more of the 15 apps and to discuss their views on that app during the webinar where we presented the results. We wanted to know why they preferred one app over another because they wrote about the app the apps they preferred. Simultaneously, I used a dozen app criteria to measure each app and rank those apps based on their criteria scores. Criteria in many cases were tied objectively to the research findings. For example, the cost rating was directly related to the low, mid, and high level, as well as most frequent costs that the app actually charged for users. Functionality was based on all the various functional areas and feature set. Support options were based on the type of support that was available, the number of hours it was available. We gave extra credit for if they actually had telephone support available and you could actually then reach telephone support. We also gave ratings or used the ratings from the QBO store to help determine developer reputation. Based on that analysis, what we found out was PayTracker and Sender were essentially the highest rated apps out of the 10. They had the exact same score of 4.5 out of 5. And then A2X, DexCommerce, and WebGility also were tied for second place, and they had a score of 4.0 out of 5. So what we're going to look at today are these 5 apps: A2X, DexCommerce, PayTracker, Sender, and WebGility. And by the way, I'll say that the majority of people who attended that webinar last fall, by far the vast majority didn't even know that PayTracker existed. So, Matt, if you'll go ahead and open polling question 1, we want to know which of the following e-commerce solutions do you currently use or recommend the most? And if you don't use any of these or you don't recommend any of them, be sure then you select the last option, none of the above. And we're going to give this only about 30 seconds. And so remember, you've got to answer these polling questions during your CPE. And so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Matt, if you'll go ahead and display the results. So the majority of you are not using any of these. It seems as though A2X and DexCommerce are the most commonly used, and then the other 3 are all about the same. Okay. And now, for some reason, every time I do anything, and so Teresa, I'm going to have you go ahead and share your screen and start with A2X.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks, Murph. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Oh, go.
Go right ahead. I had forgotten to click stop share. So
No problem. There we go. Okay, so let's start with A2X. It's interesting to me that so many of you here are not currently recommending or using an integration app. That also tells me you're interested to find out which ones are the great ones that are going to help you and your clients. So thank you so much for being here. And let me start off with our A2X app. Now, when we started Financially, my firm is 10 years old and we didn't have any kind of a niche, but within a few years, we started specializing in Shopify. And we became known as the experts in Shopify. But then one of my accounting friends reached out and said to me, I know you do Shopify, but what about Amazon? And we thought, sure, let's do Amazon. At that point, we went on a hunt. What kind of an integration app can I use to make the entry of Amazon sales easier? And we found A2X. It was at the top of the list. And I have to say, for us, A2X has been the best app that we have found for us. Amazon is a beast. For those of you that serve Amazon clients, it's hard to necessarily find all the accounting data you need without running a bunch of different reports. And you definitely need to have access to your client's e-commerce, or sorry, your Amazon store, or you're doomed. Enter A2X. A2X connects to Amazon and to QuickBooks Online or Xero, and it summarizes all of the accounting data from Amazon into summary journal entries. Make sure my things are working. Okay. It takes all of the many fees and charges and sales data and returns and taxes and all of that data, and it seamlessly creates and sends summary journal entries into the books. You don't need to worry about the number of transactions that are happening because A2X is summarizing them. It's also going to create summary entries for inventory asset and cost of goods sold based on the SKUs that have been sold in that payout. And it matches perfectly to the Amazon payout in your client's bank account. You send over the journal entries, you go into the bookkeeping software, you go to the bank feed, you click match, 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 you're done, go have a cup of tea. It's fabulous. It is a beautiful system. Now, A2X has created different versions of their app for Amazon, for Shopify, for Etsy, for Walmart, for eBay. On this screen, you will see BigCommerce as well, but they are grandfathering that one out. So I'm not listing that one, but it has unique apps for each of these. A2X has designed these connector apps to work with the unique challenges for each of those different platforms. So for example, if you compare Amazon with Shopify, they're very, very different. With Amazon, all the payouts come from Amazon, and A2X can create a nice summary journal entry that perfectly matches to the payout in the bank. It's smooth. Shopify has much more complexity with multiple different payment gateways that your client could be using. They could be using Shopify payments, but also PayPal or authorized.net or all kinds of different methods of payment can be attached. So the A2X app for Shopify has been designed around the fact that it needs to summarize the journal entries a little bit differently to work for each of those gateways. Now, for Shopify payments, you don't need to create any kind of a clearing account because it's going to work just like the A2X for Amazon. With Shopify payments, that journal entry will perfectly match to the payout your client receives in their bank. So it's a very seamless, lovely process. But for all the other payment types like PayPal or authorized.net, Shopify doesn't actually have the payout information, so A2X cannot bring it in. So what it does is it will create summary journal entries for each of those different types. You'll have a summary entry for PayPal, for authorized.net, for Stripe, whichever. And you get to choose whether you want a daily summary, a weekly, or a monthly summary, and it will create those summary entries for you. And those ones you would use a clearing account with. And as I mentioned, A2X will also take care of doing your inventory asset and cost of goods sold adjustments based on what's been sold. So it is really quite beautiful. We love that A2X saves us incredible amounts of time when it comes to managing our clients' e-commerce books. So let's do a very quick pro-con. I like my pro-con list when it comes to, checking out different apps. So on the pro side, when it comes to A2X, number one, they have many years of experience. They have a stable reputation for great products and for great support. They also have live humans. You can talk to them. I've even had them do video conferences with me to help me get things set up. And their online chat support is really great as well. You also, on the pro side for this one, we don't need to worry about the number of transactions. If we have a large volume client doing, 10,000 sales a day or a week or a month, that can be a lot of individual data to bring into the books. So we don't need to worry about that with this one. It also is going to be able to connect multiple Shopify stores, all the different Amazon marketplaces, all into one set of books. So all of that can feed seamlessly into your clients' books. And I do like their chat. One thing I really like about them is they hire accounting professionals. So the people on support speak our language. They understand what we're asking. And I don't know about you, but I've worked with some apps that you're definitely talking to an app developer who doesn't understand what you're asking. So that to me is a great benefit, that they do speak our language and understand what we're asking them. It also keeps the books nice and clean and simple. You're not overloading it with, tens of thousands of transactions. It tracks all of your sales tax for easy remittances. So everything's going to come into the books, into the right tax area so that you can do your filings. And of course, when you're using Shopify payments, it's so beautiful. You send them over, go to the bank feed, match, it's done, no clearing accounts needed. And it handles multi-currencies without any kind of issues at all. It's quite lovely. Now, con side, there's a couple things. Number one is you're not going to get detailed inventory data in the books because it's doing lump sum journal entries. If your client is managing their inventory within their bookkeeping software and they've got quantities and they've got all their SKUs in their books, A2X is probably not the solution for them because these summary entries are not going to make those adjustments for each individual SKU. It is strictly doing summary journal entries. So it isn't perfect for all clients. And secondly, just speaking from a Canadian perspective, because I am Canadian, we have some lovely complex sales tax in Canada. And right now, the A2X app does not have a good way to differentiate between our federal GST and that needs to go into one bucket and a provincial PST, such as in British Columbia, and that needs to go into a different bucket. So we have a lovely, simple process we do at the end of every month that gets everything landing exactly where it needs to be. But you do need to be aware of that. If you are in Canada, there is an extra journal entry we do at month end to make sure everything ends up where it needs to be. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of a tour. I know we don't have tons of time, but let me give you a quick tour of A2X. On your home screen, this is where all the summary information is, and you will see what you've got connected. And then the settlements tab, which is what I'm showing here. This is where you will see all of the journal entries that A2X has created and prepared to get sent into the books. And if it's Amazon, it's called settlements. And if it's Shopify, you'll see that tab called Payouts. So those apps are slightly different. The next tab over is the Accounts and Mapping tab. And this is a really key area because A2X has lots of options on how you can customize your mapping so that the data comes into the books the way that you want it to. They make the mapping really easy. You can even choose auto mapping and let them do it for you, but I'm a bit of a control freak and I'm not letting the app do it. I do it all myself, but you can do that. You can let it choose and it will do that for you. And they give you lots of ways to look at it. You can sort it different ways and get everything going into the books the way that you want it. It's quite robust. Oops, sorry, I'm moving forward too fast. Sorry about that. Then there's the tab on inventory. And if this is an Amazon client, in here, A2X will create a month-end inventory snapshot summary of all the inventory that is stored at all the Amazon warehouses, which is great. And you can actually in there see where all the product is. It has a map and you can see where in the world are all of my SKUs. And I like that it has that summary so you can see exactly what is in stock at all of the Amazon warehouses. And then the cost tab, this is where you would record all the SKUs and all the costs. And that's what it uses to do those adjusting journal entries for you. And then there's a new reports section that they are currently building out with some really helpful and useful reports. And I can honestly say for us, A2X changed the game. Although we can't do inventory control with it, these apps are by far the easiest to work with, and they really do give the customer the information that they need to make good business decisions. Most of our smaller sellers can effectively manage their inventory using Shopify or using Amazon or a third party. So we don't necessarily feel they need to be managing their inventory in the books. Okay, so that's A2X. I love A2X. Drop in the chat if you're using A2X. Okay, my next favorite one, this is QuickBooks-compatible. So when we have a client that is and wants to manage their inventory in their books, then our go-to solution is QuickBooks-compatible. This app was formerly called Greenback, but Dext purchased it and it's now QuickBooks-compatible. And if I sound a little off, I have the flu, so I'm not exactly sounding myself. If you've heard me talk, you're probably going, what's wrong with her voice? I'm a little sick. So QuickBooks-compatible connects with tons of different e-commerce platforms, as you can see here in that image. And Dext creates individual sales and expense entries in the books. It's either going to create invoices and payments or sales receipts. And I have to say, there's lots and lots of things that I really, really like about QuickBooks-compatible. Dext handles marketplace facilitator tax very well. So for all of the marketplaces, we need to make sure that our apps are handling that tax properly. And in the past, some apps were bringing that tax into the books as if it was a debt, but not recognizing the fact that, well, the marketplace is the one that is remitting it. QuickBooks-compatible knows exactly how to handle marketplace facilitator tax so that your books are correct, and all the reporting around the tax is available right within Amazon. You also have the option of sending either your entries individually into the books, or they have a bulk section where you can bulk export stuff in. So that can speed things up for you. It has really great reporting, really good search features that help you filter and sort through things as you're working through all those individual entries. I really like that it has this great little summary at the top of the sales, the returns, the shipping, the refunds, and you can match that to the e-commerce platform. So you know that Dext has received all of the data. It's very, very useful. It also does offer both global mapping, so kind of over the top, everything mapping, but also individual mapping, which I like. Not all apps will do that. So if you have a unique situation, you can actually open that entry and remap it any way that you want. And I think that's a real benefit of this one. Also, the mapping of how things go into the books is really managed by the products that are set up in the books. So it uses the sales account and the cost of goods sold account that has been set up on the products. That's where it's going to go into the books. And they have truly awesome service. They really do. They have done a lot of custom stuff for us where we've had weird scenarios and they've been able to do stuff on the back end to make it work beautifully. On the con side, one small issue we've been having, and this is not unique to Dext Commerce, but if, for example, a client does an order on Shopify in 1 month, Dext Commerce picks it up, puts that order into the books, beautiful. Then the next month, the business owner makes a change to that order. They refund a product, they exchange a product, they edit that order. Dext Commerce will bring that edited order in with the original date. But Shopify will record that changed order in the current period. So now when it comes time to reconcile your sales and you're comparing your Shopify summary to your P&L, it can cause problems. And Dext is currently working on that. We've brought that to their attention. But really, when you're talking transactional apps, you really just want to consider how much data am I putting into the books? If you've got a very, very large client doing tens of thousands of transactions, you want to think seriously about how much data am I going to bring into the book. So that's a con, I guess, for all of them. And also with transactional, we found that the reconciliation process can be a little bit longer because you're reconciling your clearing accounts. And if your client has tons of transactions, you're actually checking off every sale, every expense, all the transfers, and just the action of doing that can take a little bit longer compared to when I'm doing a reconciliation with an app like A2X. Okay, let me give you a very quick overview. Within Dext Commerce, they have tons of great mapping, like beyond the mapping that you can imagine. It has a whole mapping center that you can use. Once you've completed all the setup and all the mapping and you've connected everything, then you come here to process all your transactions. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, they have this really nice summary at the top, and you can see all the individual transactions. And again, you can choose to send them all at once. You can open them, make changes as you go. Dext Commerce is definitely our go-to app for transactional entry into the books. It's so flexible. It's very customizable. They have great support. They'll do that custom mapping for us when there's weird stuff going on. We had a client with the Fair marketplace attached to their Shopify store. Shopify was not receiving all of the Fair information. The order that was created in Shopify for Fair was missing data. So we were able to ask Dext in the background to exclude out of Shopify all the Fair orders, and then we connected the Fair marketplace directly to Dext so that it was receiving all the right information. And yeah, they did that for us. It truly is a great app. Okay, I'm losing my voice. I'm going to pass you back over to Murph for the next section. Are you there, Murph?
Yep. Okay, so everybody should be seeing my screen, and I'm going to talk a little about PayTracker. It's an automation application that syncs. Now get this,
Murph, we're
both
not
your,
seeing the screen,
yeah,
Murph. Your screen isn't showing. I'm not seeing it. I just want to make sure everybody can see your screen.
Should be.
Okay. Others can see it. I can't. That's fine. It's all good.
All right. It may be in your other window.
It might be.
So let me just check and see if who reported that it Yeah.
Everybody,
Okay.
everybody
All
sees
right.
it. It's just me.
So, one of the things that's different about PayTracker is that uh, you can be using a different online payments solution than is standard to your e-commerce sales, and it will actually go and grab both and tie them together, and then it will integrate that data in terms of sales, fees, expenses in real time to your accounting. It allows streamlined connection to payment gateways and e-commerce platforms. And once it's connected, it will just start synchronizing, as I said, on real time. And it enables you to create rules to fine tune how the transactions are imported into QBO or Xero, allowing you to tailor approach how the data is going to look. And it integrates with Amazon, eBay, Shopify, Walmart, BigCommerce, Squarespace, WooCommerce, and several more. It also connects to gateways like Amazon Pay, Clover, Authorize.net, Square, Stripe, Braintree, PayPal, and PIN payments. And it's highly configurable. And so it synchronizes the data from your e-commerce platforms and marketplaces. It integrates with multiple payment services. You can actually maybe even have 2 or 3 payment services for one platform. And it also, one of the things that's very unique about it is it has a rollback feature that if you put something into it and then it doesn't look the way it is, you can select it, roll it back, and then change the way it looks and put it back into your accounting. It works with multi-currency and multi-country in terms of tax support. And it has received very few unfavorable QBO reviews in the QBO store. Its lowest ranking came from reputation in our scoring because and that was an 8 out of 10, but it was because the number of uses or number of reviews in the store was so limited. And as I mentioned last fall, almost nobody had even heard of this solution. It does work again with all of these e-commerce and payment integrators for QuickBooks. And essentially, it's the same list for Xero. And by the way, you can have part of your solutions in Xero and part of them in QuickBooks, and PayTracker will handle it all. So during my assessment, the setup of PayTracker was extremely easy, and it took hardly any time at all because of the flexibility. And after signing up, you connect to your QuickBooks or Xero accounts, and then you connect to your payment gateways, and then you connect to your e-commerce platforms. You configure PayTracker to synchronize your sales, taxes, and payments. You determine how you want the data to come in to your accounting, and it features advanced technology to identify duplicates. It also provides that rollback feature that is really unique because, again, you can do it on a single transaction basis or for the whole group of transactions that rolled in over a period of time. And it allows for automatic synchronization. And then if you logged in as the administrator, you can set it up from QBO, from the QBO store by selecting apps and then choosing find the app, and you select PayTracker and it'll just connect. And essentially it's the same if you start at the Xero store. And then, as I said, you pick the e-commerce solution you have, and then you pick the payment solutions you have, and then you decide how you want things to come in, like change the income account based on the item or change the customer name based on payment descriptions. For example, you might want to have some people tracked by individual, but others you want to have all lumped under, like my Shopify client. And then you define how it's going to reconcile with your account. And you tell it how you want tax treated, both exempt and non-exempt tax. And once you do that, it just goes to work and gives you all kinds of insights. Its dashboard is designed to tell you total sales and expenses and fees and payouts and deposits and refunds and sales tax. And so that really is a pay tracker. So, Matt, we want you to open the next polling question, and what we want to know is, which two solutions did I tell you earlier were the highest rated? And we're going to give you just a few minutes because we're kind of running behind. So I'm going to give you just, maybe 15 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Matt, show us the answers. And the correct answers were Pay Tracker and Sender. Those were the two highest. Remember, A2X, DexCommerce, and Webgility were all rated second. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop sharing and let Teresa take it back. Your mic's not on.
Yep, I know I muted it. Sorry about that. I was in the middle of answering a question on inventory, but I promise I will come back to that. Let me share my screen again. Okay.
And we can see your screen.
Perfect. Thank you, Murph. Okay, so let's talk about the next one, which is Cinder, which was one of the highest rated apps. We all have our personal preferences. This is not my number one. If it's transactional, DexCommerce is my favorite. But let me tell you about Cinder because we do use Cinder as well, and I'll tell you where it outshines the others from my perspective. So Cinder, let's talk about the pros. This app is going to do individual sales receipts into the client's books. It's going to connect with lots of different things: Amazon and Shopify, WooCommerce, Etsy, Stripe, PayPal, Square, BigCommerce, all kinds. I'm going to stop reading all of them. Piles of platforms. And what's really great about Cinder as well is, as long as you can get a good CSV file out of whatever platform you're using, you can use Cinder to sync it to the books. That's a bit of a plus, right? As long as you can get a good CSV of the sales data, you can actually use Cinder, map it, and send it into the books. That is a big pro. As well, this app has tons of great configuration, lots of flexibility around how the data can come into the books. It works seamlessly for your multi-currency clients, no issues there. Since this app is doing individual sales receipts or invoices, if your client is managing their inventory in the books, this app is going to allow your client to reduce the inventory quantities in the books as they're being sold, which means you're getting more accurate inventory valuation. It's using, LIFO, FIFO, moving average cost, whichever one your bookkeeping software is. So for QuickBooks Online, it's using FIFO, first in, first out. So any app that is connecting individually, you're getting a more accurate inventory valuation because it is using proper inventory values, not just a flat number. So that's a plus. Truly though, for me, what sets Cinder apart is their smart rules. Smart rules allow you to completely customize how the data comes into the books, and they have been able to solve some really tricky e-commerce challenges for me. On the con side, what we have found working with Cinder, I personally found their support was slow. I had a challenge with one of my clients and it was taking us weeks to get it solved. And that was just very frustrating because I can't wait weeks to get things solved. And we did have issues where Cinder was not handling the marketplace facilitator tax correctly. It was bringing the tax into the books, but not recognizing that that was not a payable because the platform paid it. My understanding is they've fixed that now. You guys can let me know. And the other thing we ran into was some failure issues, which is normal. When you're setting up a new integration and you're doing a lot of very custom mapping, you expect failures. But what I ran into is getting those things addressed and sorted was taking me too long. So I did end up moving the majority of my clients over to Dext. I do still have a couple on Cinder because of the smart rules. So let's take a quick look at Cinder. Cinder has incredibly complex mapping. So if you're brand new to this stuff, you might want to get a bit of help with it because it is incredibly detailed, which is what accounting professionals need. All of our clients are different, and we need the ability to tell an integration app how we need the data to come into the books. And you can see in this screenshot, we've got general, then we've got a bunch of sales mapping and invoice mapping. You can see all those tabs are mapping that you can do, which truly is outstanding. But let's talk smart rules, because for me, this is what puts Cinder above others. You use smart rules to really customize how it comes into the book. So let me give you an example. I think that's the easiest. I have this client who's an international client from the UK, but they sell all over the world. They have sales from all kinds of countries, but they are only registered for sales tax in the UK. And they're using Stripe attached to Kajabi, and they have 8 different Stripe accounts for 8 different revenue streams. Stripe does not recognize sales tax, and they needed a way to make sure that everybody in the UK was charged sales tax. And not only that they were then sent a receipt that showed them the sales tax as part of the price. We used a smart rule where we told it, if this Stripe sale is located in the UK, create the invoice inclusive of 20% VAT and take a copy of the QBO invoice that you've created, receipt, sorry, and send it to the client. I couldn't have done that with others. And everybody outside of the UK, they go into the books as exempt of tax, and they don't get anything sent out to them. And there's a whole library of these that have already been designed, or you can completely create your own. You can see it's like an if yes, do this, if no, do that. You can design and customize it to exactly the way that you need it. And this is the one thing that to me sets it apart from the others. So a little bit of a tour from the main screen, you would be choosing the platform transactions. And this is where you will see the list of all the different transactions. And you can choose to enter them individually just by checking them off and hitting send. But you can also bulk send them. If you click the little box at the top, it'll highlight all of them and you can send them. You can also sort it by the platform or the transaction type. Like let's say you want to deal with all of your PayPal stuff first, or you want to look at all your Shopify stuff first. You can sort it and process it that way. This here shows you the number of transactions left per month, because when you're working with Cinder, you are paying by the transaction. And you basically purchase a plan that includes a certain number of transactions. And if you go over, you pay more. So it's always tracking how many transactions do you have left for the month. And once you have all the transactions sorted the way that you want them, and you've selected which ones you're going to send, you then just click sync and off they go. Cinder really is a great integration app, connects to lots and lots of platforms. You can do that CSV import as well. The smart rules for me have been the piece that really sets it aside and above the other apps. Now, if they work more on their support, it might land to the top of my list. Okay, back to you, Murph. Stop share.
Okay. Yeah. Let me get over here. And you should be seeing my WebGility screen now. Okay, so let's talk a little about WebGility. And folks, if we start to run a little late, we're going to continue on, but I'm going to have the last poll open so that if you have to leave, you still will get credit. And whether you use QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise with advanced inventory and all the bells and whistles that come with advanced inventory, WebGility can support your e-commerce integration requirements. WebGility connects to more e-commerce platforms than any other single solution. Amazon, BigCommerce, eBay, Etsy, Shopify, Walmart, it really doesn't matter. And it also includes Clover, Lightspeed, Shopify, and Square POS system integrations. That means you can be using Amazon and Shopify online sales channels and a Lightspeed POS in your storefront and posting all your data to QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise with multiple warehouse locations where you're fulfilling your own orders using row, shelf, and bin and barcoding via the QuickBooks mobile order fulfillment feature. And all your inventory data remains consistent from QuickBooks to all of the other sources. Now, it can record invoices, sales receipts, sales orders, depending on the order posting options you choose. It can handle multi-currency, multi-jurisdictional, and multi-location requirements. It can integrate with Avalara Tax, and it can reconcile all your data from multiple platforms. This workhorse platform can support literally hundreds of thousands of transactions with flexibility in posting options. Now, let me just say that WebGility was one of the very first app reviews that I ever did for Insightful Accountant. I think it might very well have been the 8th or 9th actual article I wrote years and years ago. And at the time, I was working with WebGility as one of their first 2 ProAdvisor consultants. And over 2 or 3 years, I installed hundreds of WebGility applications. One of these was an extremely sophisticated, and because of DoD compliance, I can't discuss exactly what it was, but it was an extremely complicated situation. And it had to do with the fact that the customers were different branches and departments, and the payment methods were all different budgetary accounts. And this one was limited to this merchandise, and this merchandise was limited to this one, et cetera, et cetera. And we had to be able to define all of that. And you couldn't even do it in QuickBooks. But with WebGility as the connecting tool, you can define all of those particulars. WebGility offers configuration possibilities that are almost unlimited. For example, you can limit sales to specific customers or sales of items to specific customers, in effect creating a customer-specific catalog. You can predefine payment options based on the customer and item. In other words, this customer can only buy this item using this payment method. WebGility can post orders either individually or summarize them on a daily, weekly, monthly, or designated settlement period. But even if they summarize it, that doesn't mean that it eliminates the item. It's still tracking all of your items. Orders can be journalized if you prefer, but even then, it still enters an item adjustment to deal with your items. Setup is somewhat more complicated than other apps. You might think that to be the case because of the degree of sophistication, but WebGility actually offers free setup, free implementation, and training for all their new customers. And the upper end plan is more costly. That's one of the cons about it. But it's worth it due to the flexibility as well as the live support via phone, chat, or email. Most of the other apps don't even offer actual telephone support. So here's the WebGility dashboard that you start at, and it provides all kinds of detail, and it quickly lets you filter your dashboard by what you want to look at, periods or individual locations, etc., etc. Just as easily, you can filter your data by specific sales channel or data sources. You can look at your Amazon data, eBay data, Walmart sales. And remember, you can have all of these coming in together. And you could even look at your point of sale system that's in the front room and individually see that, and yet it's all being tracked simultaneously. WebGility isn't a pick one sales channel solution, kind of like A2X. It supports more sales channels than anything else, and it supports multiple sales channels than anything else. The integrations menu is also where you find the various WebGility settings that allow you to configure all those features and functions that I told you it offers. And it has one of the most sophisticated and detailed set of options. You can get granular in terms of your orders, your products, your customers, your discounts, your sales taxes, your expenses, and your fees. You can get very specific on how orders are pulled into WebGility. This allows you to configure your sales receipts and set up purchase orders and credit memos automatically, as well as determine automatic refunds and send those out. And it can allow you to track on a one-by-one basis payment options, or on a one-by-one basis item options. WebGility makes it easy to track your items between the various sales channels, how you deal with variants, how you deal with one-off products, and how WebGility treats your QuickBooks inventory, even when you're using, as I said, advanced inventory with multiple locations, multiple warehouses, bin row and shelf, etc., etc. Another fun area for many e-commerce apps is managing sales tax. WebGility can record sales tax from your online store, or it can calculate the sales tax once the order data is received in WebGility, or it can let QuickBooks recalculate the sales data and ignore what the online store computed. And if you're like me and only trust the sales tax experts at Avalara to do sales tax right, then Webgility makes it easy to integrate Avalara with the click of an option. Now, we've been looking at items, maybe you call them products, and observing how you can configure and manage those. And in some of these solutions, you can't really manage your items. But you can find all of your items and see how each one is mapped individually right here from this screen in Webgility. This is the full list of your QuickBooks items and the various sales channels you have them connected to. You may not have all your items connected to each sales channel. You may have particular sales channels only dealing with specific items, and Webgility will handle it all. And you can get extremely granular down to changing the mapping on a one-on-one basis if something is irregular. For example, there you go. You can set up the particulars for every single item as you want it to flow back and forth between all of the affected sales channels and your QuickBooks. Sometimes you come to the situation of what's going to be the master? Who really knows where the sales data is? But you can define it right down to the bin location. No matter what anyone tells you, differences in quantity on hand, quantity available, and quantity by location will always happen. Your store says you've got this many, and QuickBooks says, no, you've got this many. One big reason for such discrepancies is how the various systems handle drop ship or in order committed items. And guess what? Webgility handles all of that too, calculating those numbers independent of your regular inventory, but computing the values. Webgility makes it easy to understand your item quantities and any differences between QuickBooks and each of your sales channels. But unless you plan to send a stock checker out to do a spot count every single time, you have to decide what is your system of truth. Webgility gives you the option to set your master catalog. And do you want to use store data or do you want to use QuickBooks data? You can also define how you want to handle synchronization for item quantities for complex areas, as I said, for drop ship and in order. But the purpose of any e-commerce integrator is to provide a platform to transition your customers' orders from the sales channel to the accounting platform. And that means processing orders. And the Webgility order menu is where you find your new orders arriving. From here, you can select multiple orders at a time to post, or you can manage orders individually, or you can have them automatically transferred to QuickBooks. The Order Detail tab provides just that, the details about every single specific order. Everything from what it contains, item by item, and how it was paid, and how it was to be shipped, etc., etc. And you get more out of Webgility by turning it into a multi-source shipping manager. Just configure all your shipping providers under the shipping integration settings. Easily configure your shipping carrier, set up rules to automate shipping solutions, packaging, and labeling. All of this sounds like more than you or your clients are doing for their e-commerce. In fact, many e-commerce based companies are seeking a hands-off solution, and they're using third-party fulfillment centers with logistics providers to ensure that all their orders are processed. Yet even so, those companies still need to ensure that their financial data and inventory, even when it's under the control of a third party, is accurate down to the count and to the penny. Webgility gives you the power to automate all of that. By posting your payouts and settlement reports from Amazon and Shopify, you'll ensure that you're posting your revenues and cost of goods for every order, and everything will match. So, Matt, go ahead and open polling question 3. We're right at 2 o'clock. Before we close out, we want to know which one statement is the single best answer regarding the differences between Sender and Webgility. And I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is E here. And let's see what everyone gave us. Almost everybody got it correct, 62%. Okay. So we've got a few questions. Let's see what they are. And so one person did ask, my client uses Shopify, and Teresa answered that. I'd started to when it got switched back to me, so thanks, Teresa. Has the third poll been posted? Well, yeah, just right then. And great presentation. Okay. So almost everybody, were not really questions, but I think we've got everything down. And there's one more chat over here, if I can get it to come up. And okay. So thanks everybody for being here today. And with this, remember that as we sign out, we're going to post a poll that really is about the presentation. And we want to thank you all for being here. I think we were like at 128 max today, and that's a good number. So hopefully you got the information you're looking for. Remember, we will be sending out, it won't be today, but we will be sending out an email with links for both the recording and the PDF of the presentation.